I've realized like what my one major character flaw is, at least that I feel like. And then it's that I dive into anything just all
Head first.
consuming.
You are full in immediately.
If it's what I'm interested in the moment, then I'm going 100% all in that moment.
You are going to buy the things. You are going to do all the research. It is going to be totally consuming
It's going to be the only thing that I want to watch and or learn about.
Yep.
It's bad. Anyway, this is the Better Together podcast. My name is Justin.
And I'm Labry.
And that's just what I've been thinking about because I'm in one of those moments right now where I'm just completely consumed with something, namely camping.
Yes.
Because I realize how soon it's going to be hot and how few opportunities I'm going to have before baby to go camping without it being extremely hot. And so that got me going, and then I'm like, okay, well, what do I need? And all these things, it's like, da-da-da-da-da. And now I'm fully consumed.
Yeah, and we're like, what, $100 in thus far?
Yeah, and I think we're done, though.
Okay.
Like, I don't see needing to buy, besides, like, booking a campsite, I don't need to buy anything else.
But thankfully, as if all goes well, this stuff can be reused a few times throughout the years. Like, a few times a year, it could be used. But then also, if it doesn't work out, resell.
Well, the thing is I think it can work out in this configuration. For me, it's really the other party involved that it's the concern on whether or not it's going to work out for. That being our son.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be a problem. He's not real finicky.
The concern is going to be sleeping because he does not sleep with us, with anyone, ever.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen.
I think he's going to be in his own little spot, but I get what you're saying. Like, he's not used to being in the same room, especially.
Yeah. And, like, he's had some contact naps, over the years, but that's a nap.
Well, when he was, like, a baby.
Yeah. There's been, like, maybe 2 contact naps in the last 2 years.
Yeah. He doesn't do that very well. But I think that, like, we just won't nap.
On Saturday.
Or I'm thinking probably not the other day either.
You want to skip on that one?
Just in case. So that way he will go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because he struggles to go to sleep now at bedtime for a little while. And so I know overtired can be dangerous, but I feel like overtired might be a safer solution in the idea of, like, just being able to and go to sleep.
I mean, you're the one who has to deal with it all, so you just figure it out and yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I've set him up for a great sleep in a structured environment. I've got him sleeping fantastic.
Within
his parameters.
We just got to pray there's no EMPs, that the power never goes out, that we never end up in a situation where a room isn't dark enough. Like, it's great that he's trained that well for sleep, but it's also it's like being so consumed by things in my world of, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Like, I think it's a good thing that I can get so into and so involved in something, but it's also a bad thing. I think it's great that he can sleep in the way that you designed for him to sleep, but it's also a bad thing.
Yeah, because then he can't sleep in a car. Really, he doesn't crash, like, ever.
He literally doesn't sleep in the car. I want to back the truck up, and we're gonna be car camping, and not car camping like a lot of people do, where you take a tent. We're gonna be camping like in our van, because I figured I would rather have hard sides instead of like having to deal with a tent in anyway.
Safety, because bears.
Well, and just like the idea of I don't have to worry about it. Like, I can just all I gotta do is just throw a mat down, ready to sleep.
It's a little more confining to keep small children in.
That's true. Yeah, because I'll have the car locked, and so unless he somehow,
he knows the keys.
Yeah,
so just
I have
keep
to
him
hide
hidden.
the keys before bedtime. But he's not gonna be able to get out without me noticing.
He was showing people and telling them the buttons on the keys today.
That's hilarious. But so I'll definitely have to hide the key.
Yeah.
But my point is that, like, it's like you're saying, it's safer and all those different things when you're camping with a kid. But also, like, he doesn't sleep in the car, so it's going to be worrisome that he's going to try to sleep in a car.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a good track record with that. I think the most he's ever slept in a car is maybe 2 hours. Most likely, like, somewhere around an hour.
Yeah. An hour is the norm. Okay, it's not the norm. It's the max, normally, if he sleeps in the car.
And then we're talking
about 30,
long
45
drives.
minutes. Yeah.
And like this has been forever. Like when he was a baby, sometimes he'd sleep, but he never liked to sleep in the car.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, you just put them in the car and they go right to sleep.
Not ours.
Not all kids are created equal. Our kid did not like it. And we've gone from Tennessee to Pennsylvania. We've gone from Tennessee to like almost as far south in Florida as you can go. And it doesn't matter. The max he's going to sleep on a 12-hour drive is like an hour.
Yeah.
But he does great in the car.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's the best road trip kid ever.
And like he doesn't need a tablet or a bunch of crazy toys or whatever. He just wants to look at the window.
Yeah. And he doesn't complain.
Yeah.
So far.
It's been great.
But he doesn't sleep. And it's just weird because everybody talks about like, well, every kid sleeps in the car. I'm sorry, but they don't because this one doesn't. There's got to be somebody to break the rule. And our child has done that successfully.
Yeah. And it's, like you said, been from the get-go.
Yeah.
Even as an infant, tiny, tiny baby, he did not like to sleep in the car. He didn't even like it in the car when it was dark because then he associated dark with sleep. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. And it made traveling at night a little rough for a bit.
We've never had sleep problems. And so what I could say to somebody who's like had issues with their kids sleeping could be completely false.
Yeah.
But the way that I see what's going to happen this weekend is at some point, he's going to have to sleep. Like, it's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that's going to be, but it's not like he can make it all day and then make it all day again.
Yeah.
Because it's just not possible. There's no way. So he'll have to sleep at some point during the night. And that's fine.
Yeah.
He will eventually roll around enough until he falls asleep, and then we're good.
I'm just glad it's you who's having to go through this because it would stress me out to no end.
See, that's one of the things, like, I get stressed out about stuff, and you look at me like I'm crazy, and I feel like what I get stressed out about, like, missing an airplane, or, you know, how this interaction's going to go, or this appointment's going to go.
Well,
and you're like, why are you so stressed out about this? And then you're, like, super stressed out about him sleeping. It's like, well, he's gonna sleep. This isn't life or death issue.
Listen, the things that you're stressed about, you have some sort of control over. And like with sleep,
that is so funny.
I can't control another human being. I can set him up for success. I can do everything possible to where it should work, but sometimes it doesn't because life happens, regressions, and new skills and things, and blah blah blah.
This is worth talking about because of what you just said. Because what stresses you out is what you can't control.
Yeah.
And what stresses me out is where I have some control. Because I don't like that. Like, I don't like to be like in a little bit of control, but something could still go wrong.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But if I have no control, like if he's going to sleep or not, then I don't, or like it's the last week we were a little annoyed by it, but it was raining. Well, I'm not going to get stressed out like, well, it's already happening. It's raining. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm not saying you get stressed out over rain and stuff.
Yeah.
But in my mindset, it's that same kind of thing of like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, or like other people's issues don't normally stress me out. Like I know people that get stressed out about other people's problems. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not involved in any aspect of any of this. I can't get stressed out about it. Like it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And that's just funny that you said it like that.
I mean, it's true though, because it's so stressful to me because good sleep for him sets him up to have such a better attitude, lets the day go better. Everything is better when that happens. So when it doesn't happen by some weird thing, it's very stressful because I know what's coming.
It's just funny still though, because I think it would apply to other things though. So like I think that if say we were flying, right, I'm going to be stressed about getting there on time and getting through security on time and being at the gate early. But if the flight got delayed and that's going to affect my next flight, I'm probably not going to be as stressed out about it.
I'm going to be like,
but you're going to be freaking out
so bad.
But I'm going to be like, at this point, there's nothing I can do. I can't make the plane get here faster.
Do you remember running through the airport? Because I was afraid that was going to happen because we were a little late, I think. Or we were thinking we were going to be late or something. I don't know. But we were like rushing through.
Oh, it was when they moved us. And that was a little nerve-wracking.
So that was like, oh my gosh, we have to go across this huge airport.
Well, it was our technically third time flying, but it was really like we had flown to Denver, but it took us through Chicago. So we had a layover in Chicago. So that's the first flight from Tennessee to Chicago,
Yeah.
and then we had another flight from Chicago to Denver. Well, on the way home, it was a direct flight. So that would have been our third time on an airplane. And we're at our gate early. We're watching another plane load. All this stuff happens. Well, it turns out that plane's got an issue, so they kick everybody off the plane. They tell us that we've got to go to a different gate, and they load us on the runway.
Yeah.
Our third time flying, and they're getting on the runway. But it's not just us.
No.
It's not like, oh, our one plane was loaded on the run. They're loading like 3 planes set for 3 different destinations.
And we're
by
like,
the
oh, dear God, I hope we get on the right plane.
And by the time you get to the airplane, they're pointing you. They're just like kind of look at your ticket, and then they point for which one for you to go on.
Yeah.
They just kind of glance at your ticket. And I'm like, I get on the airplane. I'm like, man, I hope we're going to Knoxville.
I was like, at least we're together.
Yeah. I swore we were in Cincinnati because I've lived here my whole life. I knew where we were going when we came into that airport. And I'm looking out the window. I'm like, none of this looks right.
Yeah.
Like, none of this looks like it should look.
Until you get very close.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay. This
it was
is
until we circled, and then it was like, oh, okay, well, I know what that is. Now, but at first, I was like, this is Cincinnati. They put us on the wrong airplane. Now what are we going to do? I wasn't, like, stressed about it, but it was just like, I don't even know.
It's like, oh, gosh, is your work going to pay for the new flight?
Oh, no, that's on them. That's on the airline at that point.
What's going to happen?
Who do we fly?
Are
United?
we going to have to pay? I think it was United.
It's like the Greyhound of the sky is what that felt like.
But that was an adventure, and that really had me.
But see, like, I wasn't concerned about, like, I was concerned about being on the wrong plane because it was just going to stink. I was going to be like, this is a pain. But I wasn't, like, freaked out about it. At that point, I don't really care.
No, I was stressed, and it's bringing it back.
I'm getting the reflux. I'm getting a hot spell.
Get some heart palpitations.
Yeah.
You can't do that to me.
What's even like, people freak out when they get their luggage lost, and I get it. That would be awful. I've never had that happen. But at the same time, like, I mean, for this camping trip, I'm like, I'm going to be gone for just a couple of days. I'm like, I'll take a couple extra shirts just in case, you know. But like, if my bag of clothes, now I'll be upset if my laptop or something like that, of course.
Yeah.
But if my bag of clothes doesn't make it on a trip, like, I can go buy a little bit of clothes and it's going to be fine. I'm not going to stress out about that. There's nothing I can do. I can't will the clothes to be here. When things are completely out of my control, that's my favorite. I don't like being in control. Like, I'd rather just not. Like, I hate appointments.
Yeah.
I'm really pulling back the curtain here. But I haven't had anybody besides you cut my hair in 8 years or 7 years, however long we've been married.
Yeah.
And I always go up a year. And next year I'll be saying 9 years, and it'll be 8. But
just you'll make it to December, then automatically switch over.
Yeah. And I've not had anybody else cut my hair because I'm like, well, I don't want to have an appointment and be there at a certain time and like all this stuff. It's silly, but I don't like that.
I have control over cutting your hair, so I like that.
It looks how I want it to look.
I have input. I have control, and I enjoy that. And I'm just that way.
Yeah.
I like having control.
But rolling back to how I started this podcast, being like super into stuff, like that really hits me heavily. It's just like when I am into it, that's what I'm into.
That's how we ended up with 4 kayaks.
But those still get used. Honestly, I would be taking the kayak this weekend, but there's that potential of storms.
Yeah.
And my thought is like, it's probably going to be windy no matter what.
Yeah.
And so that's not
going to be
there's
fun.
no reason to throw a kayak on the roof and take it on a trip.
You know what you could
whenever
do?
you may or may not
I don't know
actually
what
use it.
The trails and stuff are like over there, but you could take a bike in his bike trailer.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I don't think there's a good place. This is real hilly.
Oh, I don't know.
Because if we were in like the campground that I stayed in last time I went camping, I would totally take my bike because it's flat and I could have went. I'm weird. My favorite thing to do when you're in a campground or when you're in Florida at the marina is to go see everybody else's like boats.
They're set up.
Or like to go see everybody else's campers and stuff. And so like I'm all about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be an option at this place.
Gotcha. Okay, well. I was trying to get some of the hobbies that have also accumulated over the years tucked into this new one. This resurgence of one, I should say, because you've delved into it some. But this is the first time like action is really being put in with this one.
Like we've gone camping and that didn't go
terrible.
great. Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about that on this podcast or not, but you didn't have a good time. I would have been fine if you weren't there, which sounds horrible.
We love each other, we promise. But it was not a good time for me. I do not like to get hot.
Warm.
Hot.
Warm.
Hot.
She can sit when it's like, it would have been like, it got to 70 something that night. It's
That is
probably,
not a comfortable sleeping temperature.
that's the thing, is like, you can't just be a little uncomfortable. For
That-
you, if you're like a
if I'm a
little,
degree off, I
if
cannot sleep.
if you're a little uncomfortable, you're like, well, it's because you get it in your mind. It's
I
the
know.
same thing as like the sleep we talked about with him. Like, you build stuff up in your mind to a point where you can't
No
get
control.
past it. And I'm like, it's just a little warm. Like, don't
It's-
use a blanket and you'll be fine.
It's
I
absolutely
slept great.
miserable.
I slept fine.
I felt like I was in a sauna.
When I finally went to sleep,
yeah.
I felt
After the cicadas.
well, that wasn't the worst. It was just after you stopped talking about it being hot long enough for me to fall asleep, I was great. I went to sleep.
I did not sleep any. Not awake. It was too hot.
I had a fine time. I don't know. Anyways,
Listen, if we could camp
that's
with
why
the air conditioner,
I
I
tried.
could be in
I tried. Last night I was like, look, this is the camper we need.
for $7,000.
6,500. He would have come
Basically
down.
$7,000.
It was owned by an older couple. It was the size that was perfect for us. It had an air conditioner. It had a kayak rack. It was everything.
$7,000.
Yeah. Campers aren't cheap, Lavery.
We shouldn't be throwing around $7,000 right now.
I'm about to make $50 a month, okay? I think I can afford.
Listen, you making $50 a month. Maybe we should borrow that one.
That's a whole other weird story. I don't even remember what I was actually talking about before. But no, I think like the camping thing, like I could really enjoy it. Now,
Yes.
I didn't enjoy the last trip too much because of the way things worked out with like the person I went with. And nothing against him, but he was sleeping a whole big part of the day. And so like it just made me just like, and I didn't have a bike or anything. I
Yeah.
could have went and walked around the campground, I guess.
I think it was mostly a lack of communication of expectations.
Yeah, and then like you're not there and our son's not there and I'm basically just by myself, but not by myself.
Yeah.
Because like if I could have just went and done anything I wanted to, I'd have a great trip.
Yeah.
I'm even thinking like there might be a time where I do like the camping like I'm gonna do this weekend. And I'm not only gonna go for a night at that point. Like I'm not a crazy person, but I might like get home on a Friday. I'm gonna go camping and I'll see you guys like midday Saturday. Like I'm not gonna stay gone that long, but just be a nice getaway for myself.
Kim, if he does that, I want to go do something with you. Just FYI, just plan for that.
Wow. Okay. Well, that would make more sense when you don't even have the kid, but
Yeah. I
anyway,
like your mom.
that's what I'm saying. It would just be you guys hanging out. Now you've made me lose my track of thought and everything. But like I can handle camping in a lot of different situations, but like I think it seems more fun to me when it's like I get to take my son camping and we get to do fun stuff. Because everything's a little bit more fun with somebody else. Like I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's fun to be like, I enjoy hiking by myself and things like that. But I'll be honest with you, even when you're on a trip by yourself, part of what you think is like, man, I wish so and so was here to show this to. Even the guy I went camping with last time, he was going to meet his dad, but he calls me because he's like, man, I kind of wish you were here.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just like one of those things. Like some things are just better with other people. And so it's a mixed bag.
He was saying that he took his dad to some of the stuff that y'all went to when you went camping.
Yeah.
And that they had a really great time. But he was like, I really missed out on having your husband there.
Yeah. I because you and my mom tell me like, oh, you're so good at planning these trips and stuff like that. One, I don't try that hard, but two, I don't think that I am. But apparently, according to how other people end up doing things, like I guess I am fairly good at just like, but all I do is just, oh, that looks cool. Let's go check that out.
And you do a little bit of research too. A lot of times that's the issue with planning stuff with other people is not enough research goes into play because then like you don't know exactly where to park. Like there's just some missing elements.
You know, I need to ask her, and she'll listen to this podcast, but I wonder how my mom did some of that stuff when we were younger because like when we'd go to Myrtle Beach every year, but like there were times where we started going and checking out and seeing other things in Myrtle Beach. And it was like, how did you know about these? Because my mom still can't hardly use the internet. And that's nothing against her, it's just the truth. And so it's like, were you just like asking people, was it the pamphlets that you see everywhere?
Yeah.
Because like I do go look like, and she would go like grab pamphlets and just look at them at the different.
That's how my family found stuff, but we were always looking at pamphlets in Sevierville and Pigeon Forge.
It's the
So
same
we were
thing.
only doing the things there because that's the only
Like
place
you've
we
been
went.
to Myrtle Beach, kind of.
To the other side of Myrtle Beach, not to the
Touristy stuff.
Yeah, not to the touristy stuff, to the local side.
But the thing about Myrtle Beach is that it's just Sevierville on the beach.
Yeah.
Like, it's no different than
That's what people
Sevierville,
tell me.
Gatlinburg, except they put it closer. Now, there are different things because there's certain things that I just enjoy doing, and I'd really like to take you guys down there at some point. If we had a camper, it would be way easier. It's a very expensive city to not be that. Like, we stay in way nicer places, honestly.
Listen, we know a guy.
In my opinion, in Florida, than we do when we go. Then, like, I've stayed in hotels in Myrtle Beach, but the houses in Myrtle Beach are ridiculous
Oh
if
my
you want to be on the
gosh.
water.
Yeah.
And we always stay on the water in Florida. And there's places in Florida, if you guys don't realize, here's my pro tip. If you want to stay somewhere really nice in Florida and you're not concerned with the city, it's really easy.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
stay in houses that are extremely nice,
Mhm.
that are even like on canals or like, mostly it's canals in Florida at this point. But you can stay not on the beach per se,
But on water.
I've seen stuff on the beach too,
Mhm.
but you can stay on some kind of water where manatees will swim by the house. We've seen manatees, dolphins, sharks, stingrays, all from the dock,
Mhm.
right? And then a lot of these houses come with kayaks. The house we have this year that we split with my parents comes with a boat.
Yeah.
Like all these things, it's not that expensive, but it's because we're not staying in Destin. We're not staying in Daytona. We're not staying in, Tampa. We're staying in the outer cities
Yeah.
that are still super nice. We've stayed in the middle of nowhere, Florida, and it's basically,
I love that spot.
but
though.
it's like Knoxville.
Yeah.
Like it's like a city. It's like a big city. It's like the city we drive to go do things.
Yeah.
Is just this. Oh, this is just a small city, but they have every grocery store. They have tons of restaurants, and you can go buy your kid new Crocs at TJ Maxx or whatever. It was harder to find. I told somebody this recently. It was harder to find him Croc type shoes. We didn't buy actual Crocs.
Yeah.
But like the Croc style shoes for kids, it was harder to find those in Florida
than it is here.
than it is to find them in Tennessee.
Like, oh my goodness. You would not have expected
Now, this was last year.
that.
Wow, it feels like so much longer.
I know.
But
I think he's already about ready for a new pair again.
But that's why I tried to buy the one shoes and you didn't have me.
But these were pretty big on him then.
But I was gonna get him Flofers.
Oh,
just
yeah.
the other day. They were $15.
Mm.
Maybe they still are. But like this was before the resurgence, I guess. Still though, like last year, Crocs weren't huge again.
Yeah.
So now they're huge again. So maybe it's different. But when we tried to buy these, we had to go to 4 different stores just to find a pair of like Croc style shoes because
his other one's broke.
I can't do the mandals and flip flops on guys kill me. So I was like, this is what shoes you get.
Yeah. I mean, we let him dress like a kid, but for the most part, he dresses as an adult, but in kid styles. So there's like graphic T-shirts, there's fun colored pants, and non-sandals for him.
Well, like I think you're not going to put your kid in things that you don't like.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Like I want him to dress like a kid, but if there's something that I think looks bad, I'm not going to put you in it. Now that doesn't cover like graphic T-shirts, and the Crocs that we bought him have like this bus on them, and they're like
paint splatter,
a silly pattern and stuff like that. So it's
just the kid style of that.
Yeah.
Of what you would wear.
Yeah, it's the kid style of what I would wear. But
you looking up the Flofers?
Yeah, I'm trying to look them up.
For all of those that are not watching and those that are watching, that's what's happening. He's looking up the Flofers.
Yeah, see, they're not on sale anymore. I mean, you could get the camouflage ones for $30, but the ones that were $15 for a great price are not there anymore. If the camo ones were $15, I'd probably do it because he'd love it.
Oh yeah, he would.
But I don't know about 30.
Camo is his duck call pattern.
Yeah, you know how like as an adult you don't really like to watch most kids shows. I know there's kids shows that some adults like, but I'm not really big into a lot of the different kids shows. Especially we don't have cable, and I don't pay for a lot of the streaming services, especially those who are against the family. And so that was my sly shot. But it's like a lot of stuff that we'd watch was on YouTube, and so like when you look at free stuff on YouTube, there is some great content out there. Now, I don't know how these are nowadays on the family. When we were watching them, there was no pointed content.
Yeah.
But, like, sometimes he would watch Blippi, or sometimes he would watch Cocomelon, and I can't.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would want to watch something, but I didn't want him watching, like, not that I watch bad stuff, But there's just certain things that you would watch that like he either wouldn't be interested in
Mhm.
or stuff. So when you found something that you could watch and enjoy and that he could watch and click with for his short window, his
Yeah.
30 minutes a day of TV, I was like, and really my 30 minutes a day TV, I was like, this will work because he, for some reason, just latched on to Duck Dynasty and enjoyed it. And I'm like, well, at least there's some faith aspects. They're pretty funny. They're from the South.
Mhm.
You know, like if I had money and worse
There's
friends,
no
I could
bad
probably.
language. There's no like big violence.
Yeah.
None of that stuff.
Well, if I had money and more country friends, I could end up in some of the same situations,
Yeah.
you know, but they don't go
Mhm.
too far. But he got onto that, and he just assumed that camouflage was just like the Duck Dynasty color.
Yeah.
Not that there was a color camouflage, but that it was called duck call.
Yeah.
But that's just what he called it. Like, that's a duck call shirt.
Mhm.
Like, I think he at one point wanted to have his birthday party this year that.
I think
He's
so.
gone through 75 different options, though, and his
Oh.
birthday's not for a long time.
He's still, last I checked, stuck on Polar Express for the birthday.
Wow. Well, I don't know if that'll happen or not, but we'll figure that out later. But no, so the camouflage ones he would like a whole lot.
Mhm. But $30 on kids' shoes, that's, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
The ones I had were nicer. You would have liked the look of them. They were $15.
listen, I don't have to purchase everything.
You just didn't seem that into it.
I don't like to be the purchaser of all
I wouldn't have
things.
cared to purchase things, but you like I kept showing them to you, and you were like, "Yeah, they're shoes." I'm like, "Okay."
I said, "Oh, he would love those."
I don't remember it that way.
Okay, whatever.
I wish that instant replay commercial was real, where we could go back and like, who was right? But the thing is like, you could be right, but I could have been at that point completely on a different thing, not paying attention anymore. So it's
Exactly.
not my fault.
I'm pretty sure it still is.
I'm pretty sure the rule is that you have to have full acknowledgement from your husband before it counts as you told him. So it's like if you say the thing like, "Hey,"
So just like I do with the kids,
like,
look at me.
like let's just say like,
What did I say?
let's just say like you say like, "Hey, we're
Do
gonna
you
go."
understand?
Say like, "Hey, we're gonna go out to eat Friday," and then the person's like, "Okay," and then it's Friday and you're like, "You ready to go out to eat?" What are you talking about? Right? You know, it's got to be like, you know, something direct, and even a text message doesn't really count because there are times at work where like I am trying to reply.
Breeze over.
Well, I'm trying to reply to you, but it's because you've texted me like, and this isn't like saying like this is not often, but like sometimes I'll have like 3 texts from you about 3 different things, and it's all come in while I've been having a conversation with somebody, and so finally that conversation starts to lull, so I go to text you, and as soon as I pull my phone out to start to type something, then they start back, and I end up just typing like, "Yup," and then it's like, well, I don't know what I just agreed to or anything.
Yeah, I have no clue what just happened, but I'll find out later.
Yeah. That's probably another character flaw. But at least on a text, you can like read back.
Yeah.
You know, but
And there's been times that I've been like, did you not see that? Like, I clearly told
no.
you. And when I know that you haven't noticed one thing, I reply to that thing.
But you do it too. Because I've sent you things before, and I'm like, well, did you not see that? And you're like, oh, no, I
Nope.
didn't see that one.
Absolutely did not see that one. It's just a thing, though.
But it happens in every marriage. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you feel like that is you, know that you are not alone.
Never alone.
There are countless other married individuals in this world today that are battling the same struggles that you are.
That are experiencing the same
your husband
issues.
is not the only one who never wants to take the trash out or always seems to forget.
Can you tell?
Listen, my biggest thing on that, honestly, is even once I'm home, it's so rare that I use that trash can to notice that it's full. And then you're like, you didn't even empty the trash can. It's been full all day. And it's like, I've not used it once today.
Hey, I've started trying to be like, hey, the can's full. Can you take that out?
Yeah. The lid has helped because now that, and I know that sounds weird, that having a lid on the trash can has made it easier to take out. But you end up putting stuff in there where the lid gets stuck open, which is far more noticeable than stuff just like kind of at the top of the trash can.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's a good quality for you, but it does work.
I do it on purpose to get your attention.
It accomplishes your goal, whether or not it's something that we should be doing.
I really don't like messing with the trash, so it accomplishes the goal that I need it to.
I think it worked pretty well taking the trash out before church Wednesday last
Mm-hmm.
week. That made a lot of
I
sense.
think we're finally finding a rhythm with it. It only took 7 years.
Well, the issue is like you get home from church on Wednesday, none of the trash cans have been emptied, and then they still don't get emptied because it's 9:00 at night when you get home from church. And then when I get ready to leave for work in the morning, it's not like I just have this lackadaisical. It's like we
Well,
try to
and
just
Thursday mornings are hard.
we just try to hang out in bed though until like any day right
Mhm.
before it's time for me to leave because I have to be at work so early
Yeah.
anyways. It's not like I go to work at 9. It'd be a
Mhm.
little different. But going to work early means like I got to leave early, and so I'm not going to wake up super early and just like hang out and be full faculties, which is probably that sounds safe. And then get in the car, Like
Yeah.
it's normally like I'm walking out the door, I'm focused on leaving. Even there was something today, I can't remember if it was oh, I'll have to tell you that later.
Okay.
I forgot. No, I just forgot to take something off before I went into the Home Depot today, and it's because I was walking out of work and I called you as soon when I got in the car,
Mhm.
and then talked to you for a while. Just never thought again about it, and then got to Home Depot, went in the store and all that stuff, and then when I got back to the car, I looked down, I was like, "Oh, whoops."
Oh well.
Yeah, it's not like it matters, but it's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, that was an accident.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that." But
It is what it is sometimes, but
it's very vague, but I can't tattle on myself on the internet, but I think you understand where I'm coming from.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So all is well, and your mom probably does too.
Yeah. But now I've lost my train of thought. This is why we're not having a very serious podcast episode tonight, is because we're kind of still in one of those straits of like having been so busy and still so busy
Yes.
that we're not all mentally there.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. Like we finally did our anniversary present to ourselves,
Yeah.
which was adding this beautiful pathway in our backyard, but that took a lot of work, and 95% of that was all on his part.
Thanks for that. On that subject, we will have a video coming out about it in the coming weeks, but we are super ahead on videos because we only put out one video a week, and we normally
We've been very busy, so we've made a few videos.
yeah,
in
we
one
try to
week.
record multiple things. Like if we're doing something even on a weekday that's
Mhm.
different than the norm that we want to capture, then we're gonna record, make a video about it. And so like we've got a video that comes out this week about our actual anniversary,
Mhm.
and then this weekend we made 2 videos. There's still a video in the works about the boat. If I ever figure out the problem and fix it, then that video gets an ending.
Lord willing, we can get that figured out.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Otherwise, we're selling it.
I almost want to sell it at this point when it gets fixed because I don't want to deal with it again. I put the batteries in it, and then I was like, okay, so now, because like that was the only reason we didn't use it last year is because the batteries were dead, and it's $200 plus. It's like almost $300 to replace the batteries, and so I didn't want to do that right away. And then replace the batteries, and the battery charger's messed up, so I had to buy a battery charger. That's $100.
Yeah.
And then once we go out on the water, the batteries are working great, but the boat engine's not working great.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, well, let's try the simple things. And so we tried some fuel system stuff, and we tried the spark plugs, and neither of those have fixed it. And so now it's a bigger issue. And it's like at this point, I want to be able to just almost fix it and just get my money and run.
Yeah. Hey, but then we could get the other thing.
Get a camper. Well, my joke was even like, I would almost much rather have like a project car at this point. And you're like, well, those have issues too. And I'm like, yeah, the issue is that I can actually fix that. I don't know what it is about the boat motor that freaks me out, but I feel like just from what I've done in school, what I've done in my past, is like a simple motor. Now, the vehicles we drive every day, the 2017s is what our 2 vehicles are, I don't feel confident in taking that apart. But if I had a project vehicle, something from like the 80s or earlier, I feel like I could do a lot more work on that, and it's not going to stress me out. But the boat motor is a whole different beast. I don't know enough about that.
It's still just so money consuming though in some of those because so much has to be worked on at a time, and you dive deep. So like you would really want to get in there and work on it. You wouldn't be able to like sit and wait.
Yeah, that's I was thinking about that too. That's probably my other major character flaw, is I don't want a project to stretch. And so, like, if we're going to do a project, it has to be the right size.
Yeah.
Because I need to be able to start and finish the project,
In a
preferably
weekend.
in a weekend and just be done with it. Because if it stretches, I don't enjoy that. Now, I would like to be better about that, but it depends on the type of project. So, like the path that we built, like I
This
don't.
is part 1
Well,
of the
this
path.
is phase 1, which is a good start on that. But on the path, it wasn't like, okay, well, let's dig it out and put the edging in and then just leave it.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to rain, it's going to get super gross and muddy, and so it's like you kind of have to put the stone in over it, but that takes a whole day.
Yeah.
All right. And so it's like I would like to get better at that because I was talking at work about my issue with that today because one of the guys I work with, Paul, he's great about like he's constantly got a project, but he'll go home and he might work like an hour on a project and then he just goes inside. But like he constantly is getting things done and accomplished because he's spending an hour a day somewhere about on it. I don't have the time to do that. But he's spending like an hour a day doing these projects and he's just like taking out small chunks. If you remember that Dig Drive DIY guy that all our son likes, he did that. He was restoring a tractor and he did one small thing every day, and that's what got him to be able to finish it. But he even said like this is going to take a long time, but I don't want to just fully dive into this and be fully consumed by it. And I'm pretty bad about that. That's what I mean with the boat. That was the other half of it. It was like I just wanted it to work. And so it's like, well, and then, but there's certain things that you just can't do and then not do. And so it's like if you start the boat project and you put the batteries in it, you have to have the batteries to see if anything else works. But once you put the batteries in there, if the battery charger's messed up, you have to buy a battery charger or you just wasted the $230 other dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And so then I had to do, it's just constant, like you have to do the next thing. Depending on what the project is, you don't have to do that. Like right now, the boat can just sit until I can get a compression tester and test the motor and then either try to pay somebody the exorbitant amount of money to rebuild the carb or maybe consider trying to do it myself. Makes me a little nervous on that one. But
that's what YouTube's for.
Well, there's not really anybody doing that though. That's the thing about some of the boat stuff is like the boat motor, there's so many options and there's not like just one. So like if you had this specific vehicle, well, a vehicle would only have 3 motor options and they were probably shared across, a whole line of vehicles.
Yeah.
Like every car had the same engine pretty much. And so you could figure out how to redo that. But like on the boat, there's Yamaha, Honda, there's Evinrude, and then back in the day it was like Johnson, Mercury, and there's all these brands.
I remember Mercury.
Well, Mercury's still around. But like Johnson is not around anymore. But
used to be a car
they had
too.
they had so many different engines back in the day, and they're so spread out that like, and I mean I say back in the day, even when our boat was built in 2004, our motors are 2003. Like in 2003, you still had all these different brands building motors. Now it's a little bit like Evinrude's not around anymore. Like you've got Yamaha, Honda, and Mercury, and as far as I know, I think that's about it. Sorry, but
sorry.
So it's just it's hard.
Came up on me
It was just a big pause too, but it's just one of those things that you can't really. It's hard to find the information on and figure out what's going on, and it's just a weird issue to have in the first place. And there could be it could work right now.
We just don't know.
I just don't know.
We've not taken it back out in the water because we've not had enough time to be able to get it out on the water.
Yeah.
And in that, having good weather during that time to be able to do it. Because you don't want to go out when it's icky. You don't.
Well, and like right now, the boat doesn't have enough power because it's running on it's a 3-cylinder running on 2 cylinders, and it doesn't have the power to get up on the trailer all the way. So then you got to winch it up. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like that camper, I joked with you earlier about like, oh, well, I found the perfect camper. And I think honestly, for us, that could about be the perfect camper. Because if we're going camping too, we're not going camping to sit in a camper.
Yeah.
We're really into small campers because 1, I hate towing things. And so I don't want to have to tow a huge thing. And 2, like a small camper forces you to actually be outside. Like I don't want to go pay $30 a night to sit in something I could sit in my driveway.
Yeah. I just like to have a place to escape to with air conditioning as needed.
Well, and for me, like
during the day, it's not the worst. It's night.
Like tent camping is one thing. I don't get lucky on weather, and it could rain this weekend. I know it could rain this weekend, but like we've tried to go camping in multiple times. But a lot of the times that we've tried to go camping, even when it would be like better weather for you, it turns out it's going to rain.
Yeah.
And so, like, you get within a few days of it, and then it's like, well, it's going to rain all day. But then what happens? Like, I think that one we canceled, it didn't rain.
Yeah.
Like, the
And
one I'm
that's
thinking of when
the
we were
crazy thing
going to go to
about weather
Winchester.
here in Tennessee.
It's
Like,
ridiculous.
no one really knows what's going to happen until that day.
Yeah.
And even till that moment.
But when you have a hard camper, especially,
you have that shelter.
you have a shelter. And it's in like a pop-up camper. We've looked at a ton of pop-ups and we've thought about it. But the issue with the pop-up camper is that if it does rain, you're fine, except for the fact that, like, you don't want to put it away wet.
Yeah.
And you can put it away wet and drive home, but then you got to open it back up so that it can dry out. That's a lot of work.
So that way it doesn't mildew and mold and all those things and ruin the soft siding and blah, blah, blah.
But
and
see,
then they don't hold air as well.
But you talked about, like, our buddy's camper. The issue with that is that it's a bigger camper, and so you end up needing to put this, like, anti-sway thing on it. But that you have to dial that in on the truck and the camper. And so, like, you have to put the hitch in the truck, and you have to move these bars up and down on the camper. So it's not as easy as, like, just swapping it back and forth. The small one, like I was looking at, you don't need that stabilizer because it's so small. Like, the one I was looking at was a 6x8. Like, that's tiny. Like, you can tow that. It's not going to be an issue. It's not that heavy, but this other one's heavy enough to where, like, you have that sway on it. And what it does, it's like, say you're going down the road and a semi-truck passes you and it gets a little squirrely or a big gust of wind. Instead of the camper going like, whoa, it kind of keeps it in line better is the best way to describe it.
Well, if you keep this up, we can talk about it next tax return season. And we'll have that discussion then. But I have to try to keep you from diving in 1,000% on things, which is why I was again like, no. Like, yes, that does seem like a great deal. And that is that
the reason that this camper was great
set up for us
was it was actually nicer than the one that I had previously talked about, because we talked about buying one of these new, and we've talked about one of these forever.
Yeah. And
they're called a runaway camper. They're very small, and the one I talked about before was actually smaller than this one, but this one was 8 foot long, which meant that you had a bed in it, but you also had an open set of floor, and that's what kept us from buying the other one before, was that you would be climbing in, like, right on top of your bed, and so there'd be nowhere to, like, put your shoes easily and stuff like that. But this one would have been different. The other thing too, old people owned it, which was great. It had a roof rack on it already, which is an extra option. It had the gear tray on the front, which is an extra option, and it had the hitch in the back, so you could have put a bike holder in the back. So, like, that camper could have done everything.
It'll be fine.
That's how those things work, right?
But otherwise, we would have dove in 1,000,000% and been a little stressed money-wise because we would have taken ourselves down.
I wouldn't have actually bought it. I just like putting it on you is why I couldn't get it, and I apologize for that.
But I got to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Someone has to be. Otherwise, someone can go a little wild on
The thing is, I would never meet these people and buy anything 95% of the time.
I would have to, and then he would blame me for the purchase.
Exactly. Well, like, we got lucky because we almost bought a pop-up. Like, we had the cash in hand.
We had the title thing.
We had, actually, I think I had given him the cash, and then he handed me the title, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Hold up.
And I would have bought it. I would have bought that camper that day with that cash. But what happened is that I got the title from him, and he had signed the title, but he never put it in his name.
Yeah.
And so it was a title in somebody else's name, and then on the back of it, where I was supposed to sign it to go take it to the tax office, he had signed it. Well, you have to put it in your name unless you're a dealer. And so if he had put it in his name and he just spent that little bit of money, he could have just put down $1,000, and then paid taxes on $100 or whatever, or $100 of taxes. He could have done that, and then he would have had a sale that day for probably more than he ended up selling it for. But what happened is that he did that, and there's nothing I can do. I can't go put it in my name now. So it had a lien spot on it. Well, and he's like, well, you just sign that spot. And I'm like, no. That's if you were a dealer, I can sign that. And so it's like this whole mess. But
yeah, we even called and confirmed with our elders and made sure that our thought process on this was correct. Because you've gone through buying and selling cars and stuff.
On a car. Like, I would never do that in a car, so I'm not going to do it in a camper.
So, like, you were aware, but we were like, okay, well, let's just make sure that this is accurate information. So we called our parents. And we're like, hey, there's this thing. And they were both like, no.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I was not about to do that. I'm sure somebody did. I don't know who did it, but I was not about to do it. And I was like, if you will get it registered, I said, I'll buy this, but I need you to go get it put in your name and get the title. And then once that title comes in, I will come back and buy it from you.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want to do it, so they sold it to somebody else, I'm sure. But and then there's some people out there probably that wouldn't worry them at all.
Yeah.
But I don't want to play around with it.
We drove a decent, 45 minutes, an hour.
Well, the thing is that I don't, like, even my
and
boat,
we walked away.
We don't have the title for the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the title for the boat.
Yeah.
And so it's registered. But we don't have the title for the trailer, so we can't register the trailer. And that means that you can't take it outside of your state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of fine for the boat. It's probably never going to leave this local radius. But a camper, I'm not getting a camper and never taking it away. Yeah. At least I want the option to do it. Mm-hmm. Whether I ever do it or not, I don't know. But I want to be able to take it somewhere else.
Well, and we live so close to other states.
That's true. Like Georgia.
There's 2 hours to a few different states all around us.
And yeah, I mean, like, we live in East Tennessee. We're 2 hours from Kentucky. We're 2 hours from Georgia. And we're 2 hours from
the Carolinas.
The Carolinas. And technically, I think we're 2 hours from Alabama.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's nothing to pop into another state.
Yeah. So, and we like things in all of those states. We've done day trips to places where we would go camp. And so, but I really wish that, like, camper vans weren't so expensive.
Yes, that would be lovely.
I love camper vans. That's what I would much rather have, is some kind of camper van that could just fit all of us in it and take that camping. And I would be gone all the time.
Yeah.
Even in this situation, I'm thinking, like, the new baby is going to make it interesting in the fall. But I'm like, man, if you're cool, at least...
new baby can travel.
Well, but,
lot easier.
We don't have a real camper, though.
Yeah.
So you're not going to want to do that. But I'm thinking, me and him, me and our son... we can at least pop out for a Friday into a Saturday. This first trip, I wanted to take him on a trip anyways before the new baby comes, and so that's why I want it to be like a 2-night trip this time. But in the future, it's $30. Yeah. So just go somewhere for the night, wake up early Saturday, and just go have fun and do stuff. And that's why I want to go camping. And I had to explain that to our buddy, and now he is in that same mindset.
Yeah, it's clicked.
But for me, the reason I want to go camping is to be closer to the thing in that place that I want to do. We live in a great area, and we're very close to things, but you're still an hour, 2-hour drive from the things that I want to do, whereas I can just wake up and be at the place that I want to do the thing I want to do and enjoy more time there. And so that's why I really want to go camping. Now, there's the fun part of, like, you have a fire and, you're in a new place. Anytime you get to sleep somewhere else, which I know sounds crazy, but you got to think about it. Any trip you go on where you get to spend time in a new place and sleep in a new place is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so that's my big thing in camping. Like, I don't know what a lot of people's viewpoint is, but for me, it's like, I like being in a new place, and I want to be able to be closer to the stuff I want to do. And so that's why that one camper, again, I was like, the kayak rack and the bike thing, because if I'm going camping, I want to take everything. Yeah. I want to, like, what I like to do,
options.
I want it all there.
Yeah. To be able to, like, okay, well, I woke up and I feel like riding my bike today.
Yeah.
So take the bike.
Well, it's like,
oh, it's a wonderful weather. Let's take the kayak.
I would love to go to Bentonville, Arkansas. And first of all, if you've never heard of Bentonville, then you probably aren't really into, like, biking or mountain biking. But also, you hear Arkansas and you're like, why would anybody want to go to Arkansas? You should look up Bentonville, Arkansas. It is the coolest place. They have 100% bought into cycling and mountain biking, to where there's all kinds of public trails. There's trails for every skill level. There's paved trails. There's dirt trails. It's everything. But you can also get to all these cool places, restaurants and town and stuff like that on a bike.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I could go camping there, that's my dream. It's to, like, I can go camping, I can wake up and go bike and do these things. Like, that's awesome to me, personally. But I'm a weird person. I mean, that's what... we went to Pennsylvania. We stayed in Strasburg. You know what my favorite part of that was?
Waking up before us and going out on your bike.
Well, I went on the bike, but also I could go walk. Like, I would, if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't want to live in a city, like, the only good part about living in a city, and we live in a city now, but we live on more of the outskirts, but, like, is the sidewalk where you can go and walk places. And, like, I don't just want to walk like, people in New York, like, you live on a block where everything, like, you could walk out your door and turn around and you're at a coffee shop. I think that's how the apartment you stayed at was. Like, there's literally a coffee shop under the apartment that you stayed at in New York City. And, like, that's cool, but, like, I'm cool to go walk. And it's like the coffee shop in Strasburg, it was like just a nice morning walk. You'd walk over there. You actually did it more than I did for that, because you'd go get breakfast and stuff and then just walk it back. Or the pizza place with the guy from New York.
Let's go back to Strasburg.
I know. We just need to figure out something for the dog. because we can't stay in that house with the dog, and there's
Yeah.
no other house in Strasburg.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
That place is cool.
Yes. If you need a place to go, we highly recommend Strasbourg. And like someone recently on social media was like, "Hey, what's some places out of the norm that you love to vacation?" And I said, "Strasbourg, go there. It was wonderful."
Especially if you have kids. There was things that I think I still would have done a lot of the stuff that we did, even if we didn't have a kid, but it made it feel even cooler.
Yeah.
Because like we went to a model train museum, which doesn't sound cool, surprisingly
was.
interesting, but especially when you have a kid who loves trains, and then it's like, this is the best thing ever. But then you think a model train museum is one thing. They had a train museum. And I don't mean like where they talk about trains. I mean, they had a building
Full of trains.
full of full-size trains, and a
Mhm.
lot of them you could get on and look at.
You could
It was
go
super
in and
neat.
they tell you about operating the trains, let you see the different cars where like
When like
there are
trains that
sleeping
perform different
cars.
functions,
Yeah.
because there was like the kind that like would break up snow.
And there's the
Super
mail
cool.
car.
Yeah.
So that it was just really fun things.
There was the car they would pull around to teach people how to work on certain
Yeah.
things, and like that was cool.
And that was the best thing ever to him. Like,
And then there was a restaurant where you ate in train cars. It was very trainy in that
Yeah.
area. But then you had the Amish people, and
Mhm.
then like you were a short drive
there was
from all these
amazing
different places.
food. You could go to Gettysburg. You could pop up to Hershey.
Yeah, Lancaster, which a lot of people like to check out.
Yeah.
But then that garden we went to
Oh
was
my
epic.
goodness. Longwood Gardens.
Yeah. If you've ever been to Biltmore, imagine the inverse, where
Yes.
you have the most expansive, beautiful gardens you've seen, and
Mhm.
like a small, nice house.
Yeah.
Because Biltmore is the biggest, most expansive house you've ever seen with like a small, I know small is relative, but think about it in
But
that term.
smaller, nice gardens.
The house was big, so like
Mhm.
even at this place, but
Yeah.
the gardens were Biltmore size house gardens. Like it
Yes.
was just it was insane.
Absolutely incredible. And I would totally go back and spend the whole day there again.
I want to be the outdoor boys without the like as
Killing stuff.
outdoor stuff as they do. But just like if all your stuff was just like, because like if you think about the videos we've watched of them on their
Mhm.
longer trips, where it's like then they go out and like him and one of the kids goes and does like a small thing together.
Mhm.
Is like if we went to Strasbourg, like you'd be in that house and it's like, all right, now me and our son, we're gonna run over and we're gonna stay in this train car, because they had a train car motel.
Yeah.
And you could sleep in a train car,
Mhm.
but it was like a little room that they had built it into.
Yeah.
And like that's just one thing that we're gonna do that night. It'd just be that's like the perfect YouTube lifestyle.
Yeah.
Just traveling and checking out cool stuff. But like
Mhm.
it does become a grind. Anything becomes a grind.
Yeah.
This is a grind.
Mhm.
Like anybody who's wanting to do anything online, like I know now we've just covered the most obscure bases. That's why
Of
our
everything.
YouTube channel is weird. That's why this podcast is weird, is
Mhm.
because I don't have a niche. Some people are like, I love this one thing, and that's all that I care about. And outside of God, I don't have that thing. As far as hobbies are concerned, because God is not a hobby, God is a lifestyle.
But you know what? It's the same. We are modeling our creator because he doesn't have
That's a good
just
point.
one thing
Yeah.
that he focuses on. He was like, no, I like beautiful landscapes. So here we go. Oh, look at all these animals. Oh, look at these people. Look at all this
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, he created the Appalachians and the Rockies. He created the deserts and the rainforest. So that's a good point.
So we're just modeling our creator.
But I'm just saying, like, some people have that niche, and I think it's a good thing. I kind of I kind of wish I had a niche where I was like really into that one thing and just could focus on it, because I think it's easier financially when you're into one thing.
Mhm.
But like that's
Definitely.
not me. But if you're wanting to do YouTube, as I was going to say a second ago, you have to realize that no matter what you're doing, no matter how much you enjoy it, it does become a grind. And
Mhm.
like I need to go edit a video tonight, which I kind of forgot about. You may have to pick up some of that slack tomorrow.
Whoops.
But I've edited half of it,
Okay.
so it's not going to be too much. But I don't have much time left
I
today.
shouldn't have to spend 2 hours on it.
No.
Okay.
But, and that's the great thing, such teamwork, such tagging. And I was
That's
going
why
to have
we're
you
better
watch it
together.
anyways, because like I've started liking you watching the videos where you can watch it and be like, that's a little longer than it needs to be, and cut it. Because as I'm editing it together, it's hard to know when to cut things.
Well, that and like as you said, you get in the grind of things and you're pushing stuff out and you don't take the time to go back and process
Yeah.
what it is. Because I've done the same thing when I've edited videos. And I've had you go back and watch and be like, okay, well, let's tweak this here and there.
The only thing that has me continuing to make YouTube videos right now, it's not that I'm not enjoying it, but I think what it is, I'm not going to say continuing to make YouTube videos. Continuing to make sure we put out one a week is that we've made it this far.
Yeah.
So we put out one a week every week so far this year, and that's the goal, is to do a whole year doing that. And I would love for it to just be easy to record and to edit and to do all those things to get the video out there, but it's not.
It's not. And especially when you have things that come up and you end up making 2 and 3 videos a week.
Yeah.
Like, you're recording it. So
it's
then
actually harder to be ahead if you're not like super ahead. Like if I was so ahead that like all these videos were edited and it was like you were really good to where you could record, edit, that would be one thing. But right now, like, we're not there. And so it gets super confusing footage wise. But the other half of it, like I thought you were going to say just like being busy, because it's like right now it's like you've got the More God Less Me podcast, you've got the Better Together podcast, then we've got Bible study, and we've got church, and we've got this, we got that, and you just want to also enjoy life a little bit.
You don't want to constantly be on the go, like constantly, like, okay, I have to. These things are happening. You want to be able to step back and enjoy and process and be in the moment and not focus on like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, I've got to.
That's hard when you work a regular job and you do this. Like if this was our full-time thing, then I would have no room to complain. Now, not to say that it doesn't get harder when it becomes a full-time, because I think it requires more work to produce more of a better product.
Content and everything, and it's the stress of making sure it provides for you financially.
But that being said, like, it just would be easier if this was all that I had to do all day. But it's not, sadly. It would be nice. But I think you should try to create and should try to do it, but you just have to realize that you need to know ahead of time that it's going to be difficult, that it's going to be a grind, and that you're going to have to overcome that.
Yeah, and manage expectations. Like, we set the expectation of we wanted to do 1 video a week.
Yeah.
And that's just one, like putting out 1, and that's fine. But we're in that busy spell, and we're wanting to capture a lot of what's happening in that busy spell. So we're recording more than 1.
Yeah.
And trying to put out just the 1 is a problem, because we're trying to keep with that one thing.
Yep. It all becomes a challenge, but it's enjoyable, and I'm glad that we're doing it. And you can see how it's making an impact and reaching people and things like that. It just becomes a lot after a little while.
Yeah. But vacation's coming.
I know, but I got to be ahead so that way I can enjoy vacation.
We got to get ahead of this. I don't know when that's going to happen. But somehow we're going to have to squeeze in a couple episodes.
I really should have recorded a podcast last night for the More God so that I could stay ahead, because I was ahead, and I'm not going to be ahead anymore, but it's not a big deal.
I didn't realize.
Well, I mean,
you had recorded 2.
I had recorded 2, so I had 1 for yesterday, and then I have 1 for next Monday, but I won't really be like, I mean, I can record next Monday, and I'll still stay kind of ahead, but it'll catch up with me eventually.
Yeah.
Everything does. But also, like, the thing is going to be, like, trying to figure out a workflow on vacation, because we're going to record and capture as much of that as possible and, like, make a story.
In doing that, I think we should try to edit some each evening.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the best flow for that. Otherwise, it will become overwhelming.
Yeah. But we're going on an hour on this podcast, and we've got other stuff to do. So we're probably going to have to cut it here, sadly, for you guys. I know you're just wanting us to continue to talk more and more and to hear
about
more
all
of
the
our
random things.
More of our great insight into life and into this world. But I think this is where we're going to have to cut things off.
I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you've enjoyed this and it made some sort of sense to y'all. If you did, please hit the like, share, comment, all those wonderful things. Come back on Monday for More God Less Me, and God bless.
God bless.